You typed one sentence into an AI, and you watched it do in about 9 seconds the thing you'd spent the last 3 months trying to learn. Be honest. You didn't feel amazed. You felt a little hollow, because a cold voice in the back of your head asked the question that's quietly weighing on every curious person alive right now. If a machine can be an instant expert in everything, then what is left for me? Take a breath, because here's the part that the voice doesn't want you to hear. It's wrong. Not a little wrong. Completely backwards. The arrival of AI is not the end of a mind like yours. It is the single best thing that has ever happened to it, and you're about to be one of the first people on Earth to understand exactly why. You already know who you are. You're the one with 20 tabs open. The pattern weaver. The person who could connect Roman history to sourdough to that coding course you quit at 80% and who got quietly punished for it your whole life, told the depth beats breadth that the specialists were the smart ones? For years, that hurt. Today, it makes you dangerous. That era of punishment just ended, and almost nobody has noticed yet. In this video, I'm going to show you why AI didn't come to replace the pattern weaver. It came to complete them. I'm going to introduce you to what happens when your synthesis mind merges with infinite on-demand expertise, a new identity I call the meta-architect. We'll break down why the specialist's deep well, the very thing you envied for years, has quietly become a liability. And I'll hand you a practical toolkit to start working this way today, so you finally finish the things you start. Stick around to the end, because that's where the old smart and broke story finally dies. If you've ever felt the genius and the curse of seeing too much, you already know you've found your tribe. So go ahead and subscribe, because this next chapter belongs to people who think like you. Let's get into it. For most of human history, the smartest play was to dig one deep well. We talked about this before. The specialist picks one patch of ground and goes down deeper and deeper until they know that one thing better than anyone alive. And it worked. Society paid handsomely for depth. The science fiction writer Robert Heinlein once wrote that specialization is for insects, and for decades the world basically replied, maybe, but we'll pay the insects more. So here's the uncomfortable question almost no one is asking out loud. What happens to the value of a deep well when anyone can summon a perfect expert out of thin air for free, in seconds? Because that's the world we now live in. Need a niche Python script? Summoned. A legal summary? A materials analysis? A marketing plan? A translation? A financial model? Summoned, summoned, summoned. AI is the greatest well digger ever created. It can go deeper and faster into a single domain than any human who has ever lived. And that does something strange and a little brutal to the specialist. The thing that made them rare, knowing one narrow thing extremely well, is exactly the thing AI is best at copying. The deeper and narrower your well, the more replaceable you quietly became. This is the specialty trap. The expert spent 30 years becoming the best in the world at one thing and woke up one morning to find that the best in the world at one thing is now a button. But notice what AI cannot do. It can dig you 1,000 flawless wells. It cannot tell you which wells are worth digging. It can answer any question on Earth. It cannot decide which question matters. It has no taste, no lived context, no scar tissue, no sense of how a strange idea from one field might rescue a problem in a completely different one. It is an ocean of answers with no shoreline of judgment. And that shoreline? That is your home. This is the great inversion of our time. For years, the bottleneck was knowledge. Knowing the thing was the hard part, and so the people who knew the most got paid the most. But AI just made knowledge nearly free. And the moment knowledge becomes free, the bottleneck moves. It moves to the thing that was always rare and is now priceless, knowing what to do with it. Direction. Bringing it together. Vision. The ability to look across 10 fields at once and see the bridge nobody else can see. Which leads to the new truth for our age. In a world where every answer is one prompt away, the only thing left that's scarce is knowing which question to ask. And asking the right question across many domains at once? That's not a specialist skill. That has never been a specialist skill. It's the native language of the pattern weaver. So let me show you who you become when you stop trying to be the expert and start directing them. Think of an orchestra for a moment. The conductor cannot play the violin like the first chair. They can't outdrum the percussionist or outsing the soloist. By the old logic of specialization, the conductor is a master of nothing. And yet, without the conductor, you don't have music. You have 100 people playing in the same room. The conductor's genius isn't depth in any one instrument. It's hearing the entire symphony before a single note is played, and then pulling it out of a room full of specialists. That is the meta-architect. And AI just handed you the orchestra. You are no longer the one frantically learning the violin and the cello and the trumpet so you can finally finish your song. You are the conductor with an infinite ensemble of expert players standing at attention, waiting for your direction. The chemistry you don't fully understand, the legal language you never studied, the statistical method that always lost you, those used to be the walls that stopped your projects dead. They were the reason your loom was full of half-woven tapestries. They were the source of the most painful pattern of all, the 80% rut, where you could see the whole vision but couldn't bridge the final gap of expertise, so the project quietly joined the graveyard. Those walls are gone. Imagine someone in your community, and people like this are real, they're in your comments right now. They have a vision for a new theoretical framework that draws on physics, on biology, on systems design. A decade ago, that vision dies on the runway because no single human can hold deep mastery of physics and biology and engineering and computation all at once. The gaps are too wide. But today, they architect the vision, the part only a synthesis mind can do, and they summon a physics specialist, a materials specialist, a coding specialist, weaving each output into the whole. They build in months something that an entire interdisciplinary team couldn't have built in years. They didn't become a specialist in 5 fields. They became the architect who directs 5 specialists. The gaps that used to stop them are now just prompts. This is the Pattern Weaver Plus AI. And it isn't addition. It's multiplication. But I know what some of you are thinking, because I can already see the comment. Isn't that cheating? If AI fills in everything I don't know, am I not a fraud? Am I not just a person with opinions standing on top of a machine? I want to take that fear seriously because it's the most important objection there is, and it's exactly the same shape as the old one. For years, you were told your breadth made you a fake. A jack of all trades, master of none. Now there's a fresh version of the same lie, telling you that leaning on AI makes you a fake all over again. So let's be precise about what's actually happening. The conductor who can't play the violin is not a fraud. The symphony genuinely doesn't exist without them. The architect who doesn't pour the concrete is not a fraud. The building genuinely doesn't exist without them. Synthesis is not the absence of skill. Synthesis is the rarest skill. AI can generate 1,000 brilliant fragments, but a heap of brilliant fragments is not a cathedral. Someone has to hold the whole vision. Someone has to know which fragments to keep, which to discard, and how they fit. The machine supplies the raw expertise. You supply the thing the machine fundamentally lacks: the reason, the judgment, the soul, the why. That's not fraud. That's leadership. And here is the part that should genuinely excite you. The world's most important problems were never specialist problems anyway. Climate, health, inequality, the design of new technology itself, these are tangled, interconnected, wicked problems that no single deep well has ever been able to solve. They were always waiting for someone who could think across systems at once. They were always waiting for pattern weavers. The difference is that now you don't have to spend 40 years acquiring every piece of expertise before you're allowed in the room. You can summon the expertise and start solving today. So this is the right moment to bury a story that's been quietly haunting this community. The smart and broke story. The one that says you're cursed to be the brilliant person who sees everything and builds nothing, who can't pick a lane long enough to cash in, who watches narrower people earn more for knowing less. That story was real. It was real because the economy used to pay for the lane, not the landscape. But the economy just changed underneath all of us. It is starting to pay enormously for the exact thing you have always been, the rare human who can stand above the wells and design what gets built. Smart and broke was never a personality flaw. It was a market that hadn't caught up to your mind yet. It just did. All right, let's make this practical. Here are 3 workflows to start operating as a meta-architect today. The first is the specialist summon. Stop treating a knowledge gap as a wall and start treating it as a hire. The next time a project stalls because you don't know enough about some domain, don't open a year-long course. Start with a clean prompt and steer the AI just like you'd brief a freelance expert you just hired for the afternoon. Tell it the context, the goal, the constraints, the level of detail you need. Be the demanding client, not the anxious student. Your job is not to become the expert. Your job is to know enough to ask sharp questions and to recognize a great answer when you see one. That recognition, that's the skill you've been building your whole scattered life. The second is the synthesis stack. This is where you stop being a user of AI and start being a conductor of it. Don't ask one giant question and accept one giant answer. Instead, summon several specialists for several pieces of your vision. Then do the one thing AI cannot do for you: weave them. Pull the physics from here, the design from there, the financial model from somewhere else, and lay them on your loom side by side. Look for the contradictions. Look for the connections. Can you ask the question that bridges 2 answers the machine generated separately and never thought to combine? The output isn't any single response. The tapestry only you can see. That tapestry is the product. That is your unrepeatable value. The third is the ship it sprint. This one is for the 80% rut, for the graveyard, for everyone who has ever felt the specific shame of a project abandoned right before the finish line. We talked before about curiosity sprints for starting things without guilt. Finishing them without fear. Pick one stalled project. Set a hard, short deadline. 2 weeks, not 2 years. And then make a rule. Every single time you hit a gap you'd normally use as an excuse to quit, you are not allowed to learn it from scratch. You must summon a specialist to bridge it and keep moving toward done. The goal of the sprint is not perfection. The goal is a finished thing that exists in the world. Because a completed, imperfect tapestry will always be worth more than a flawless one that lives only in your head. Do those 3 things and something quietly profound happens. The pattern that defined your whole life, start, soar, stall, abandon, finally breaks. Not because you fixed your scattered brain, but because you finally have the tools your brain was always waiting for. So let me leave you where we started. With that voice that asked, if AI can do everything, what's left for me? Here's the answer. Everything that actually matters is left for you. The vision is left for you. The judgment, the taste, the meaning, the question worth asking, the bridge between worlds that no specialist and no machine will ever see, all of it is left for you. AI didn't come to take your place. It came to take your ceiling. For years, the world handed you the blueprint of a specialist and the soul of a synthesizer and told you that you were broken for not fitting the blueprint. You were never broken. You were early. You were a meta-architect, born into an age that didn't yet have the tools to let you build. That age is over. The tools are here. The orchestra is tuned and waiting. And the only thing standing between you and the most original work of your life is the decision to pick up the baton. So pick it up. Own your loom. Summon your specialists. And go build the thing the world has never seen. The one that needed a mind exactly as wide as yours to even imagine. If this hits something in you, if you finally feel like the future might actually be built for the way your mind works, subscribe and join the pattern weavers who are stepping into the role of meta-architect. And I want to know in the comments, what is one project sitting in your graveyard right now, one you abandoned at the gap, that you could finish this month by summoning a specialist to bridge it? Tell me below. Thank you for watching. Now go conduct the orchestra.